What's up, everybody? I am Brendan Kirsch, head coach of the undefeated, undisputed, 18-0 world champion Mob. And I'm also joined by Hernando Planells.
Yep. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things to really say about me. I'm just so glad that I'm in the presence of a mob boss. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Coach H, head coach of the Buzzsaw, 9-7 on the season, third place finish. While we love SlamBall, just like you guys do, we also coach it, which makes us what I like to refer to as SlamBall insiders, Coach.
We are. We have all the inside information, so I can't wait to see the messages. Like, is James Willis and Coach H really that bald on TV? You know, it's like those nuggets that people are going to be like, wow, these two guys, they know it. By the way, if you didn't know, yesterday, which I don't know when this is going to come out, it was National I Love Bald-Headed People Day today. So, Brendan, you were out. So that's one thing you can't be a part of.
Please, I've got maybe a year left of hair, man. This is like grains of wheat blowing in the wind. I'm gonna keep it for maybe as long as I've got it, but I give myself another like 6 months.
Well, listen, I'm, you know, I think bald is beautiful, and it'll be a new phase of your life when get on there.
I love it. We're starting off strong. This is SlamBall Nation, everybody. Coach H and I love SlamBall. You guys love SlamBall, and we wanted to start up SlamBall Nation because we need SlamBall in our lives all year round, not just during the season. So we're here to podcast with you. Is this, Coach, would this be considered content?
Absolutely. I mean, this is actually earth-shattering content.
Yeah. Then we are content creators. My kids are going to be so excited. Content creators.
Listen, yeah, they're going to be like, you know what my dad is? My dad's a content creator. That's what he is.
Coach, it's been how long? It's been almost 4 weeks, I guess, since the season ended. What's going on with you? Give us the insight. What are you doing?
I mean, I came back to regular life. I was no longer a SlamBall coach. I mean, I still am technically. The good thing, and no one knows this, but I was suffering from Bell's palsy most of the SlamBall season. So now my face is back to normal. If you don't know what Bell's palsy is, it's when one side of your face becomes droopy. So I had like a resting ass face is what I had the whole time. I told my team not to make fun of me. They could talk shit about me after. Hopefully we can cuss on this. I didn't even see it, but maybe we'll put it
out.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So no, I got back. I you know, spent time with my grown kids. You know, I have my leadership podcast, did a couple episodes of that. Just came back from doing a commercial with Google. Yeah, I mean, really, I'm just like a vacation, but that's my life every day. I'm not like you, Coach K, burning the midnight oil, supporting a family like that. You are the epitome of what America is.
I came back in my lawn. I live in Orlando. My lawn was dead. Just dead. So I came back and I looked at my brown grass and I was like, I've really neglected this yard and property, and it's good to be back home and try to get this grass green again.
Yeah, and you know, we're out of the heat of Las Vegas. I mean, Las Vegas, we love you, we thank you, but you're hot. You're way too hot.
During the summer, absolutely. It's too hot. 119 degrees, Coach. We had 3 days at 119 degrees. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was like beating on you. And of course, you know, Brendan has a covering on his head, so he didn't get his burn on his head. I, in the meantime, was just getting pelted all over the head, getting sunburn, suntan, you know, all these different things. And then, you know, it was great. The players were always like, oh, Coach, it's so hot. Like, I can't take it. I'm like, oh, my God, come on. We're professionals. Let's go.
Was it Jamal Barnes? Somebody was saying it was like the devil was breathing on you out there.
Yeah, I think it was Jamal Barnes Jr. Absolutely.
Yeah,
he said, yeah,
that sounds about right.
Coach, I went outside and it was like the devil's breathing on you. I'm like, well, he's not breathing on me. He is not breathing on me, damn it. Jesus is breathing on me.
I love it. So, all right, we're 4 weeks. We're all back to normal life. Let's talk a little SlamBall. Season, I guess, what is this? Series 6. We're back. SlamBall is back. What are your thoughts? We haven't had SlamBall in like 14 years. Like, what are your overarching, give me your high level thoughts on the season.
Well, I think number one, I know they kept calling it Series 6. I mean, for me personally, it was like Series 4. but then I get confused because it's series, season. Like, what are we doing? But it's fine because I'm just a coach. That is not in my pay grade or my lane. No, I mean, I tell you, like coming back, obviously, you and I haven't spoken in almost like since series 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
We kept tabs on each other and everything else. But, coming back, seeing all the guys, watching all the players now become coaches, having this new batch of players, meeting your beautiful family, and just being able, hopefully everyone knows we all you and I practice together, and just building that relationship and just watching the two teams and watching just teams come together and play a heck of a hard sport. In like 6 weeks time, we were on ESPN right away.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I had the same experience. Like it was when Mason Gordon called and said, "Hey, SlamBall's coming back." Like I was so excited just to have that experience. Like we get to be part of SlamBall again. We get to be on the court again. We get to be around the players again. We get to, help lead and shape strategy in the sport that we love so much. But it was an even better experience, I think, than I could have hoped for. Like reconnecting with you, reconnecting with Coach Stapleton. Out there, Stan Fletcher, Mason Gordon, Rob Wilson, all the guys that have been around it for so long, Noah Ballou, Sandy Fletcher. I mean, it was so great. And then I'm with you, man. Like my biggest takeaway, I think, for the season was, even though we were only out there for like 3 months, it seemed like a year, man. Like it seemed like a year. And I think part of that was like how it was broken up, because you had tryouts and then training camp and team camp and the season and then the playoffs if you were one of the teams lucky enough to make playoffs, right. Which you're looking at 2 coaches who led teams to the playoffs. That's right. But it was long, man. And like I left Orlando. My kids were still in school finishing up their grades. And they all flew out and met me a couple weeks later. We're out there for the summer. My daughter flew out and met us. And then all of a sudden, they were gone again, starting school, and I'm still out there coaching SlamBall. So I think just the timing of everything, it seemed like when the season was done, like I was ready to get home.
Yeah,
sure.
No, everything that we had to, I don't want to say go through, because it makes it sound like it's so hard, but from the planning, coaching a sport that no one plays, usually out there on outdoor courts, it's like, wow. But I will tell you, the biggest disrespect I always get for a coach is when people say, wait, there's strategy in SlamBall? Like, there's coach? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to punch you.
Not if you ask Coach Carter.
No.
Oh, now we're getting into it. We're getting into the nitty gritty. As I said in the promo, we're really going to out this mother.
You did. By the way, we shot that promo, and Coach Kirsch was so emphatic when he had to say that. Like all his other lines were fine, but you could tell he was ready for that. He may have rehearsed that all night long to get it to get to your soul.
I think the F word is just one of the most powerful words in the English language. I mean, you look, you know Coach Krzyzewski, you spent time at Duke. Like, what did he always say? Sometimes coaching requires direct communication with the players. And there's no more direct word and direct communication than when you just strategically layer in the F word here and there as needed for impact and effect.
Yeah. And, it's just becoming normal. On set the other day, the art design had a shirt that said, I was like, well, if this is the case, what shirts can I make up now? A whole crap.
It's a whole new world post-COVID. It's a whole new world.
God.
I love it. All right. So getting into this, looking at the season, one of the questions that I had for you, because we had Coach Stapleton, Coach Carter, yourself, and me come back. We were the 4 coaches that came back from being original coaches with SlamBall. And then we had 4 new head coaches. Obviously, Stan had to take over for Coach Stapleton based on some of those health issues that we can dive into if you want. But some of that. My question for you is, do you think that the coaches coming back had a distinct advantage over the new coaches, or do you think it was all pretty much a level playing field since all the new coaches had played?
Yeah, I think there's waves to it, because I think when all the coaches get together, right, they're all eyeing each other. I think all, us veteran coaches are like, well, we've coached it before. The players are like, well, we played it before, so we know. But it's just like anything else. Now when you're coaching, and and if anybody's coach, they know that when they sit down and start putting their season plan together, and I hope if you're a coach, you put a season plan together, you are saying, okay, what do I got to teach first? What do I got to get done because everybody wants dogs, right? You say it all the time, like, I want a dog, but we got to coach them up. So I think there was an advantage there. I think we had an advantage because we were working together. And I think that was the other part is in our practices, we actually worked together in our practices. And then I think as time went on, you saw in the games, like Coach Janice, his team was struggling in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, you started to see the identity with it. So I think there was, and I think some coaches were like, wow, I'm not as good as I thought it was going to be, or this is a lot harder than I thought based on who I drafted, who I saw, and who I was training.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you. Like I thought about this for a while, and at first I was like, I'm not sure if we did, but then I think the advantage that we had, coach, is like we knew that every minute counted, right? With practice, you have such a truncated time period to install the things that you want to install and instill what the strategy and everything that you want to instill with the players. And it's like we really accounted for every single minute during practice. And I think if you hadn't coached it before, you maybe thought there was more time than you really had to do the things that you needed to do. And I think we did a great job too. All the old coaches coming back of really limiting distractions, because SlamBall is, it's back, right, and it requires a lot of promotion. And so there's only one court. So to be out there during training camp and team camp and to be told, hey, Bone Crusher's coming in to teach your guys dribbling, it's kind of like, that's awesome. And I think that's going to help the sport, but we're absolutely not doing that today, because we don't need our guys to learn dribbling from Bone Crusher, because, if you dribble in SlamBall, you're going to get your blown up. So it might not be the best use of our time. And I think, and maybe that's not the best example, but I think like as it comes down to like training camp and getting ready for the season, I think the coaches that were coming back did a really good job of like limiting the distractions, because they felt more comfortable pushing back on some of those things.
Yeah. And on a side note for everybody listening, it's not Bone Crusher, it's Bone Collector. That's Larry Williams, who I actually coached in regular basketball at one time, but I just let you go there with Bone. I love it. I love it. And by the way, I never call Bone Collector Bone Collector. I always call him Larry. And he's like, Coach, man, why you always call me Larry? Is it because that's your name? It is your name. And I love you. I love you, Larry. I love you. But no, you're right. And you saw it, I think. I mean, if you look at the semifinals, right? It was Stan, you and me coaching, and then, Josh Carlson. But Stan has been coaching and teaching it for years. And you and I were returning coaches, so we had a semblance of what it would take and what it would look like. And I thought it was executed really well. I mean, both of our teams are like entirely different. You guys are high flying. I really believe, I was just about to call my team the Bouncers. The Buzzsaw was like the whole anti-slam ball, because like we couldn't score. And, so it was awesome just watching all these things come together. And then the true strategy showed up, because, some of the coaches, I think, were just so focused on the high flying action instead of all the different details that have to get done first to become a high flyer.
Oh, no doubt. And you saw it during the season, Coach. Like, I think we were very beneficial. It was beneficial for us to be able to practice together, but you saw like a lot of teams coming right out of the gates, and it was like, like we're a little bit farther behind than maybe we should be. And you saw them catch up very quickly, towards the end of the season. Like, I think for me personally, like we saw the slashers get so much better. We saw the lava get so much better. We saw most of the teams, honestly, the Griffs, like teams get a lot better as the season wore on, because I think they realized right away, it's like, all right, we've got some ground to catch up. And they did for the most part.
Yeah, and I think a lot of players, they get into the, which is good. They get into the details. So like, all right, so how do I attack the tramp? How do I hit the plexiglass? Like what I got to do. But at the end of the day, and we talked about from the very beginning, it's just about putting that ball, hitting that tramp with just courage, nastiness, and I'm coming at you. Yeah. And then you got to put it in there, and then hopefully you get in there with some skill, unless you have, who I called artificial intelligence stopper that you guys have, Dave Smith, Team AI, not Allen Iverson. But, you saw that in time. And I think some people have said, and it's probably true, like we probably ended SlamBall right at the start of the beginning where everything was about to blow up. But that's the great thing about moving this next year, et cetera, and going from there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. So tell me this. Biggest difference in your opinion, old slam ball, new slam ball. We have this back. We're part of old slam ball as we
Yeah.
call it. What do you think the biggest difference was?
Well, I really think it comes down to just the times that we are. You know, a lot of coaches saying, players aren't the same like they used to. I hate that comparison. All I
Yeah.
know is that in slam ball 1, 2, and 3, a lot of those guys, like this was their life. Like this was what it was all about. So it was attacking recklessly. So, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean, like, when you have Chris Young, Gettleboard, going, throwing his whole body at it. And then you had stoppers just putting their whole chest up on them, stopping people. Like the attacks were outrageous. And I think in today's athlete, when a lot of them play Division I, Division II athletics, where they have great facilities, where they have like a great, food plan. All the other guys didn't have that. Like they were fighting for their lives. Now in this one, you started to see that toward the end of it. But like Jamal Barnes Jr., who I had, like I coach his dad, like that dude is going to attack you 365 a day. And if he doesn't get there, it's because he's tired. But he's just one of those dogs. But you have to have that mindset and that mentality to get after it.
Yeah, I thought for me personally, I thought, and I agree with everything you just said. I thought speed of the game was a little bit different because I think with slam ball, it's so unique and people don't recognize it, but you can't play 100 miles an hour. If you play 100 miles an hour, the game is too fast. You have to actually slow it down and be within a rhythm. But I thought that rhythm this time around was a lot faster than it was the first time around. And for me, I thought the quality of the depth of roster was better this time around because I don't know what you had with the bouncers. I know you had some studs, you had some injuries back in the day, but I know you had some studs in that roster. But when I looked at our roster with the mob back in the day, we had some really good players in the top maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. And as soon as you went to number 5 on the roster, you're kind of like, oh man, there's a distinct drop off in talent. And I think this time around there was less so that drop off, which I think is a testament to, Rob Wilson and the front office being able to go out and find the highest quality players that they found.
Yeah, I mean the depth was so much better. My team on the bouncers, we had good guys, and first time we did this, I played everybody. I play everybody now, but no, it totally is the depth is huge, and you make a great point with the speed and pace, right? In basketball or football, first one down the field, first one down the court, right? If you're the wings, or in our case, slam ball gunners in basketball, you'd go right down the baseline and be spotted up. On kickoff return in football, you're coming down first. You're doing everything that you can. Slam ball, it's the handler who really is like coming down. He's dictating. And then now, and you guys did it great. One gunner's coming, then a second gunner coming. And then now you're getting full speed toward the basket. But it's that timing and that flow that you were talking about.
No doubt. Timing, misdirection, spacing, passing.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are kind of the 4 keys. Like that's the thing I think a lot of fans saw as they watch more and more slam ball is just it's played on 3 different axes, right? It's played on the court, it's played in the air, it's played in the slam zone. And because it's played on those 3 different axes, it takes a lot more as far as what you're teaching the players and the timing of the game and that rhythm that we kind of talked about. Okay, so rhythm's important. Let's talk about the players, right? This new age slam ball, new players, old players coming back to coach, but new players again. Who do you think ended up like we all know as coaches, we've seen guys get real good real fast right out of camp and then kind of plateau. And then we see those guys that are slowly progressing and getting better and better as the season goes on, and they don't peak until the very end. So who were the best players this season in your opinion? And who do you think is kind of the future of this league?
Yeah, I mean, I guess anybody on the mob in the buzzsaw. I mean, this is our podcast. No, like really, yes. I mean, you could go in the top end. Like, obviously, we could talk about mob guys all day. Dak, Gage Smith, like those guys, Cam, both Cams. And I'm sorry if I missed your name on the mob. Please don't come after me. But if you want to, we'll fight. But like that stuff you have, I think. I've got a bunch of guys who can continue on. I think past our teams, I think, Trevor's son is going to continue to improve. He got injured early on. I think the key thing, just like for anybody, is going to be his size, and he knows it. I know it. I talked to him about it and everything else. There's that. I think when you look at the lava, and I'll be honest, like I didn't think Coach Carlson drafted really well at all. I was like, what?
Well, I think you drafted 3 stoppers in the first 4 rounds or
He
something.
did. But he was like, this is the system we're gonna run. And then now you had Jihad, who was like Spider-Man. That dude, I was like, whoa, where? And then there's I mean, I could go on and on about a whole lot of guys, right? I don't have pinpoint guys because on the Griffs is Justin. You've got the guy who went to Regis University, my alma mater, Ty on the Wrath, who was just like, he'll just put his head down and just score on you, right? I think as the game evolves, we are going to have bigger athletes come on by. And I don't know if 1 year experience is good enough for these guys to hold on to their spots. So if you're an old player, if you played this year in SlamBall, you better be working out. You better be finding a tramp because guys are coming. And I'm not saying this as like a disrespect thing. I'm saying from a coach's perspective, guys are coming to take your spot. In fact, they want my spot. So we all got to be better with it. You know what I mean, man? Come on.
100%, man. I'm with you. Like I looked back on it and I thought like coming right out of the gates, I liked Tony Crosby. I thought he was going to be really good. Ty McGee, some of the guys on your team, Jamal Barnes, Malik, Ralph Bellamy, Keith McGee, like I liked a lot. You mentioned Brian Bell Anderson. I think the guy that got so good towards the end was Kyshawn Jones with the Griffs. Like he got so good towards the end and he was a high flyer and he could pass and he was fearless and he started to get the timing down. He was one of those guys that I saw plateau, later. I think Bradley Lawbacher, who played for the Slashers, kind of did the same thing. I think Kalen Tippins-Hill with the Rumble would have been a lot better. Like, let's just be frank. Like Coach Carter didn't do a very good job. Like he did not come ready to coach that team. And like, if they had been under maybe Coach White the entire season, or if they had more strategy imparted on them and training, I think he would have been one of the best players in the league. And he still almost was. I mean, he was very, very good, operated at an extremely high level. So I think those guys, Bryce Meringue, obviously, and Fessel Shafat for the Lava too, I thought were studs. But Coach, like, you bring up a good point. Like nobody's got their spots, not you, not me, like not anybody. Nobody's got their spots, but you've got to think that the advantage that these players have, having spent a full season on the court, like maybe it's the same thing. Maybe we go to tryouts next year. They're going to have such a huge advantage over everybody coming in. And maybe those new players coming in are going to have to get real good real quick to maybe overcome some of those guys. But I'm with you. Like they have an advantage right now because they have what nobody else has, and that's a full season on the SlamBall court. But these players that are watching it on ESPN, like remember when it was Series 1, Noah Ballou was watching it, and he was in college, and he saw SlamBall and was like, I'm trying out for that next season, and he did, and he made a team and became one of the best players to play. So there's players out there right now doing that same thing.
Yeah,
Coach.
and you know what? During the season, I would tell my team, I say, guys, people are sliding into my DMs. Now, I would like another audience to slide in my DMs, but that's all right. I mean, that's all right. But I kept telling them, I said, guys, this is not promised. Like, remember, ESPN has the deal with SlamBall. ESPN's deal is not with Coach Hernando or the Buzzsaw players, right? So we've got to be ready. And I know the guys are. I think the guys are going to come in. You're right. The experience is so important. And then I think the other part, too, is how long will next season be? Because we kind of know the growth pattern that's going to happen if the season is around the same time. If it goes longer, then which coach is going to say, you know what, I think I'm going to go with younger guys? Or am I going to go with older guys who I know that may get better or may break down? I mean, this is the reality of we as coaches. People are like, oh, that guy breaks down. Oh, that guy needs some more discipline. Oh, that guy needs to do this, right? Like, that's just what coaches talk, whether you love it or not. Like a perfect example, Trey Landers plays on the Rat, right? I told him during training camp, I said, "Hey man, I don't know, I'm losing faith in you." And he was shocked. He's like, "What? Who what?" And I love Trey. I love Trey. He's boys with my guy Simon Harris, who used to coach him in Dayton. But sometimes, and I think great coaching comes from telling what it is, whether they like it or not. And now, what are they going to do with the information? It's not, throwing shade on anybody, but yeah, we got to be honest with what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. The thing I haven't spent, like, to be completely honest, The thing that I was most worried about coming into to coach this sport again was that I don't spend a lot of time around that generation of
Hmm.
people. You know, I've got my oldest daughter 17, and spending time with her friends is probably the closest thing that I get. But young men in their early 20s, mid 20s, I don't spend a lot of time with those folks, right? I've got my group of friends who are all in our 40s. I've got the people I work with who are all pretty much in our 40s. I haven't coached, right? Like outside of slam ball, I don't do a lot of coaching. So I hadn't spent a lot of time around that generation. But the thing that I think I noticed the most is that I think that generation really gravitates towards
Hmm.
authenticity. I think that's what they value above everything. I think they're very good at seeing through bullshit, just to be candid. And I think they want an authentic connection with their coaches, with their peers. And I think that's what they seek above all. So if you can level with those guys with a real authentic connection, I think you're going to have an advantage over some of the other coaches and some of the other players.
Yeah, they need it. And, I had Sandy Fletcher, who is, I mean, I don't know if there's a more intense word than authentic, because Sandy was, he tell him all the time, he said, hey, Coach H is looking for replacements at McDonald's, at Walmart, so you guys better be ready. And it was like that joking, yet truthful, yet like, wait, is he BSing? Like, oh, shit, Coach Hernando is not smiling ever. I know it's because of my Bell's palsy, but that's besides the point. But that you do it. And then I think the other part too, players want relationships with their coaches. But what kind of relationship, right? Is that hanging out? Is that going out? Is that a barbecue? Is it just with the team? I know with us, we had to share cars at our house. So after my practice, I had to leave right away to get the car to Coach Bowden, Myrie Bowden, and Coach Stapleton, so they could come to practice. So, and I didn't tell the guys this. So the guys are like, yo, Coach H is dipping. He must have somebody here in Vegas he's going to go see. I ain't going to see nobody, number one, but we got to do that. So how do you spend the time, and how can you have those authentic relationships, whether you're with them for 2 hours or you're with them for 24 hours?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Coach. One of the things that bothered me a little bit, and I know we have football guys as coaches, I know we do. One of the things that bothered me a little bit in training camp and team camp was seeing all the up downs and all the penalties for mistakes. It's like I know I'm in the minority when I look at that, but I kept thinking, what a waste of time. Like, we've got one court in the world, we have a limited amount of time, and we're sitting here spending 30 seconds doing up downs or push-ups or whatever it is. And even when we got into our practices, like Cam Hollins and Cam Horton, some of these guys, when they'd make mistakes, they instantly drop to the floor and they start doing push-ups. And like, my view on it is, I'm like, guys, corporal punishment is not a good way to fix mistakes. Like, making mistakes is part of the learning process, right? And you shouldn't be punished for making mistakes as long as you're taking that experience and learning from it. And I hope that I imparted some of that on my guys, because I mean, even towards the end, they were still dropping down to do push-ups. But I mean, I'm not a big believer in that. So
No,
I'm with you on that, Coach.
you're saying something that's really in the world of coaching, right? It's every coach will say, you go to any coaching clinic, doesn't matter the sport, they will say, well, practice is where the players can make mistakes so they could be better. Yet as coaches, we punish our players for making mistakes in practice instead of holding them to a mission, an accountability of what we do. There's one time in practice my guys were late, and one time in practice you guys were late, right? So like, we handle it in our own different ways, but we say, all right, now listen, like, you guys are grown ass men, we're pros, so this is how this is going to be moving forward. And I think we allowed our players to make mistakes. Yeah, we get on them, but they got to make the mistakes over and over and over again. And I don't care if you're a coach, you get so upset about it. I'm sorry, I'm just not a big, you throw a turnover, I can't make you run for 30 minutes. What? That's just going to make you not pass the ball. You're going to be like, oh, I'm not passing the ball because I don't want to run. No, you got to learn through it.
That's right. I love that, Coach. All right, so here's what I got for you, right? Had the new season, SWOT analysis. Okay. Every great business, every great department within a great business, if they're trying to do an evaluation on what's working and what's not, they do a SWOT analysis. You've got strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we're looking at new SlamBall. Let's do a SWOT analysis. Strengths. What do you think the strengths of this new league?
Well, I mean, the players, the coaches, obviously. But I do think that we made the court wider, which as we get bigger players, we're going to need that. I did like the improvement of the referees over the course of the season, and it could be because there were tons of rules, and then they have to, kind of make it TV friendly. But then the other part too is I love the TV coverage, not the camera coverage the first weekend, but just how they made everything look just beautiful and tremendous.
Yeah.
And it really gave that great professional feel, which is what this is. SlamBall is a professional sport, and it has to have all of that with it. I would say those were the biggest strengths that I saw.
No, I agree with you 100%. I thought the biggest strength for me was just the network coverage, like being on ESPN and ESPN Plus and ESPN2, just that family of networks versus nothing against Spike or Cartoon Network or what it was back in the day, because a lot of our old fans, picked us up there. But I think that's like the perfect network for us. I know it's a little older in demo, and the sport, draws a younger audience, like that 18 to 32-year-old unreachable generation. But I thought that network was, because it's a real sports network, was one of the biggest advantages. I think being back in the age where social media is so prevalent, because this is a highlight-driven sport that lives perfectly on social media. And I always continue to think, and you're going to think I'm brown-nosing, but I think Mason Gordon, Rob Wilson, like the guys that got this sport and refused to give up on it, like that's a strength, right? Like Mason Gordon could be doing a million other things with his life right now. Like he's big time in Hollywood. He's, interviewing Michael Jordan for The Last Dance and doing all this stuff, but he never gave up on SlamBall and like that dream. So I think that's probably one of the core strengths as well.
I'm with you there.
All right. Weaknesses. What do you think?
Well,
this is tough, Coach. We're going to get ourselves into some trouble.
That's all right. That's all right. That's right. We love everybody. I'm always on like the tightrope of people loving and hating me. I would say, I think player depth. We definitely need player depth.
Like roster spots, like we need another roster spot, or we need better players towards the end of the bench?
No, I think we need one more roster spot, and I think we have to have a pool of players that, legitimate free agent kind of pickups that we could do based on availability, injuries, etc. I think that would be one of them. I think one thing I miss on the strengths that at first I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I know for us personally, I loved having all our players living in the same house. So I think though the houses need to be closer together, because for those who don't know, some of our houses were spread all over Vegas, but it's logistical. I think that we've got to have better type of post game type of snacks or something to give these guys some sort of nutrition or something. It could be gummy bears, it could be bananas, it could be oranges, Coach Gennaro Hemphill was I love him, and he played for me. He was like team mom / assistant coach. Was carrying, he had a liquid IV, he had orange slices. The dude, I was like, man, can I rent you for my team? I'd love for you to rent my team, because I'm not getting orange slices for my guys, right? I think there's that. I think when they settled on Stormy and John as the main announcers, and then when they peppered in you and I, which that made it even better. But with those two in general, I thought the coverage was really, really good. And then I think a weakness is camera angles. Like when you're watching SlamBall, I know we're trying to find like something new, but it's still a sport. And you can't just follow like one person. Like you got to be able to see a little more of the action, which then when the announcers are talking about the strategy and the movement, now people can see it and really take it in as a real sport that they want to follow.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I don't know if it was the broad. It was such a new sport for everybody. Yes. And I think when we look at weaknesses and we look at opportunities, a lot of that is because it was a new sport that we've seen for years and other people are seeing for the first time, and they're trying to figure some of that stuff out. But I agree with you on that. It was annoying, especially to be able to watch the broadcast back and to miss like basically everything that's happening along the closest side to the camera, which was tough for sure.
And by the way, I want people to know, when we say weaknesses, we're not talking people, right? It's just like, this is what's happening. and what could help us or not help us, because we are not in those conversations. It's just you and I talking here.
No, and we got to be real, man. Like, we've given as much of our lives to SlamBall as anybody outside of Mason and Jen and Rob and his family, like, and Mike Tolan. Come on, we have the right to have an opinion, and we can say what we think weaknesses are. And for me, like, I think probably the biggest weakness in my eyes is just the way that the front office deals with the players. Like, I think there was something, and maybe that was just an experience with my team specifically, but man, like, it really rubbed me the wrong way sometimes, the way that the front office would communicate with our players. Part of that is, them being in a team house and having to communicate via like a messaging app and things like that. But I think they probably could have done a lot better there. And I'll be honest too with you, like, I think we've got a really strong front office. Yeah. One of the things that excites me the most about this new SlamBall is the fact that we're hiring real people from sports business that are doing a great job. But I think we missed, man. I think we missed on at least 2 significant hires in the front office. And like, for me personally, just having, experience with that, I think that was a tremendous weakness as well. So we'll see how that ends up, whether those folks are still here before next season or whether they move on and how all that works. But that's, for me, the weaknesses. All right, opportunities. Now, I've got a list of opportunities that's pretty significant, but I'll just focus on like the high level 1 or 2. What do you think are the biggest opportunities for this?
Well, I think a big opportunity is that we just got to get started. Like it's I think you have to ride the wave, but again, we're not in the business conversation, so I don't know what that wave looks like. I think it's going to be bigger and better. I think there's opportunities there. I think there's going to be more opportunities for bigger sponsors to come in because of ESPN, but because of our players. Like, we have some really, really marketable players and coaches, but really marketable players that could really bring some really good things. And I think the opportunities of the sports trending upwards now is huge. Now, it trending upwards, how does it look like to us compared to the front office and the bigwigs of SlamBall? I don't know. It could be totally different. But I think there's some opportunities here that we can continue to grow. And I think also it's starting to really outreach more in the community. And I think that'll be, as time goes on, a bigger part of it, because every league has to be a part of the community. I know all SlamBall teams are in Vegas, but I think there are some things there that we'll be able to grow from there.
Yeah, do you think, on that point, do you think Vegas kind of embraced SlamBall when we were out there?
I think so, because honestly, I had no idea who was going to show up to games. I didn't know what was going on with tickets. I don't know, they're selling, they're not. I mean, the signage was great, everything. I don't know what the total outreach was. But I also know in like that 6 to 8 week, maybe 12-week period, that's not a whole lot of time. So I think and I think this is a mistake that college programs and sports teams make. When they do well in such a short amount of time, that's what they think the window is. When the reality is we can keep pushing it a little bit more, a week longer, 2 weeks longer. We spend more money on this, spend more on that. Then all of a sudden, as a whole, it will be better.
I agree with you. I loved being out in Vegas, because Vegas is like becoming such a community, especially within sports and entertainment. I mean, they already had everything on the entertainment side and the resort and casinos, but the Raiders being there, the Golden Knights being there, and both of those teams having success, they're getting a new Major League Baseball team. Like, I think all of that is making Vegas more of a sports town. And I think they like that SlamBall is kind of the crossroads between sports and entertainment. So I really enjoyed the fans and the experience of being out there. My biggest one was the rules. Mm-hmm. Like, you can attest to this. I understand that the sport hadn't been around for a little while, but we were tweaking the rules all the way through camp and then into the season. And I think that is something that is a tremendous opportunity to improve upon, because it's really hard as players and coaches to understand the rules. And when you're tweaking those, even in the season, I mean, in the season, they changed the 3-second rule on the island. where you can only stand on the island with or without the ball for 3 seconds, to the 3-second count doesn't start until you receive the ball on the island. Well, just that one rule change is significant, right? Because now you can run your whole offense where instead of going to the island with the ball, you can cut a guy to the island without the ball, and he can stand there for 10 seconds if he wants until you can get it into him. So just those little rule changes that were constantly being tweaked, I think for me is one of the biggest opportunities.
Yeah, and I think over time it's going to continue to grow. And, guys, if you don't know this, Brendan Kirsch knows every rule of everything in life. So the best thing about practicing with the mob was like, hey, coach, can I do this? Because you're learning. And I was one of the things I thought. I know I was really hard on the referees, but anytime you're learning a new sport, I'm telling you, it is freaking hard. I mean, you and I could make calls, but we've been a part of it for years, so we see it. But I think those are. Yeah, I agree with the rules. It's going to be, I think, and again, I know this is Series 6, but as you and I talk, I still consider this a Season 1 because that was like 14 years ago, or whatever it is. I mean, and again, that's my opinion. But yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I think the refs did a good job. I want to get that. I want to get that on film or audio, because I know I gave the refs a hard time because of the rules, but they did a great job. You can't expect refs to do any better than what they did with the amount of time that they were around it. So I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, believe us that we gave the refs a hard job. Just rewatch the SlamBall games and just listen to how many F words Coach Kirsch and I dropped at the referees, especially the first 2 weeks of the season.
Coach, direct communication. ESPN kept putting the mob on the side where the broadcast team was sitting, and I kept telling them, I was like, stop putting us over there. I can hear when I'm watching the games, I can hear me dropping F-bombs. Yeah. Like, you don't want kids to tune in. Somehow they fixed it. Jeff Curtin and his team fixed it, because after the first game where that happened, now all of a sudden I was dropping just as many F-bombs, but you couldn't hear it anymore on the broadcast. So they figured it out.
And they figured it out. Here's one great story is what people don't know. During halftime, it's like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, you go to different sides, and when you're on the side you're talking about, the first week they would set us up chairs where the fans were cutting through to go to the bathroom, and our team was not playing well. I think it was against the Lava when we couldn't score. And I am dropping F-bombs, B words, the T word, the C word. I'm going to let all you guys kind of think about it. No one uses the T word anymore. And there's like a 5-year-old walking by. And I told the mom, I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm cussing. But listen up, you start scoring better. And it's just like I'm talking and I'm apologizing. And luckily they moved us to another room because they're like, listen, Coach H is off the charts. This is family friendly, and they moved us. So luckily, I tapered myself.
I love it. I never cussed, which was the best part. So I'm a little offended by all that, Coach. But all right, threats. What do you think the biggest threat is for this league right now?
I think time. Again, how quickly we come back. I think the biggest threat is also our biggest strength, meaning we are huge on social media. They love all the dunks. They love all that stuff. But there could be where that's all people love, and I think we're going to be at a crossroads. Are fans going to be able to pick up the strategy that comes with it, right? I mean, ESPN lives off their NFL coverage, and not just the games. I'm talking about the talking heads who are talking, even on ESPN radio, Fox radio, all those things. It's about, is there the strategy, and can it be shown to it? I think that's a huge threat. And then I think the other threat is right now you can't go anywhere to play SlamBall. So right now it is strictly a spectator sport, just like the gladiators back in the day. Like back in the day, you're not going out there to fight a lion, right? You're not like, hey, we're going out to the playground. Let's go fight a lion, right? No, it's just like SlamBall. You can't go outside and be like, hey, I'm going to jump on a tramp and dunk a ball. So I think those would be the threats that I think are right at us.
Yeah, I like those. Mine for me, we live in an age now where alternative sports is widely accepted. That's a huge advantage for us. You see cornhole and pickleball and axe throwing and all the other things that are out there. And I think slam ball brings one of the most
Mm-hmm.
exciting types of alternative sports that's out there. It's highlight central. It takes fearlessness. It's 15 feet in the air, all the things. I think the biggest threat for me, man, is just money. It's just being able for the sport to drive revenue, because you see these sport leagues all the time make an attempt and fail. XFL, CFL, like some of these things that have been around and come back. And the only reason they fail is because investors stop investing, or they can't drive enough revenue to keep the league operational. And I think for me, that's like the biggest threat is how can we ensure, and we've got the best group of investors. Like if you look at our group of investors, it is the who's who of billionaires in in sports and entertainment. So I don't think we can get any better as far as the investors go. But without having to go back and re-raise money with those investors, it's like, how can we live on our own 2 feet and be able to monetize this sport? And I think that's going to be a big question that we have here over the next 9 months on sustainability with SlamBall.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, money is what makes the world go around, and it doesn't grow on trees. So
I wish
we have this moment right now that I think will continue to grow. But again, like, it's how much is enough money or good money to take this league to another level, whatever that looks like, to the front office. Like, what does that look like to them? Because for us, right? Like, I think when you talk to old players, they were always talking like, "Oh yeah, this slam ball can come back whenever they want." Yeah, they just like, it's so simple, but it's not. Like, this is a real sport, and to execute a real sport, it's not like we have The Rock coming here and saying like, "Hey, screw the XFL. I'm going to give money to slam ball." Right? He's got and they're making a 4 or 5 year commitment. I think for us is that would be great if someone says, "Hey, we're making this 4 or 5 year commitment to slam ball, specifically Coach Kirsch and Coach H," and then go from there.
I love it. You mentioned money growing on trees. I absolutely love that. This is true. I came back and my wife, God bless her, she's like my family. Like people think I'm a disruptor. Like they call me Coach Kirsch is a disruptor. And if you think I'm a disruptor, my wife didn't like 2 trees in our front yard. Completely knew that she needed both a permit and HOA approval to cut those trees down. Just did it anyway. Called a tree removal service, came in, just cut both those trees down. I asked her, I was like, "You didn't get a permit from the city. You didn't get an HOA approval." And her exact quote was, "Snitches." So if you think I'm a disruptor, you should meet the rest of my family. But that's my comment on trees. All right, Coach. I love doing this with you. We're 1 episode in. I think there's a lot we can do here. I think there's a lot of different directions we can go to keep SlamBall fans happy, share some inside stories, all that type of thing. I think for me, one of the things that I want to know is, who does everybody want us to interview? Because here's the beauty part about being a SlamBall insider and being part of the sport. If you want us to interview Mason Gordon, we can do it. If you want us to interview Kevin Cassidy and LaMonica Garrett and Chris Young, like, we can do it. If it's new players, if it's Tony Crosby and, Gage Smith, we can do it. So like, who do you guys want us to interview is one of the big questions, because we'll go out there and procure that. But what are you looking forward to most as we get out of this and head towards next season, Coach?
Well, I think, what am I looking forward to for this podcast?
Well, yeah, sure. This podcast, or like heading into the next season, like between now and then.
I think the stories are going to be great. I think they're going to be great. I think people are going to be more invested. And I think the other part too, in order for this amazing podcast to be amazing, you've got to be invested in SlamBall, because, you're going to get the inside information on SlamBall, then you actually have to know what's happening in SlamBall with it. So yeah, let us know who you like. And what stories you like for us to tell. And I think the other part is just seeing where we go 9 months. I mean, the first couple of days, actually, I didn't mention this. I was watching some of the things that we were doing offensively and defensively, and put some notes down. And I think, the one thing I've got to be better at is just being a little more consistent with that, with it, because this is real. And you and I talked, and, I had visions at one day that I was going to make, coach in the NBA. And obviously, I'm not in the NBA. I'm in SlamBall, and I made SlamBall into my NBA, is what people would call it, right? From our draft, from how we prepared, how we approach it, and everything else. So I think it's that, and it's looking forward to see what the next part of SlamBall is going to look like. And then, we could speculate it all we want and what's going to happen with players and everything else, but it's only here on SlamBall Insider where you get the real up-to-date information with SlamBall.
Coach, it's SlamBall Nation, not SlamBall Insider. I mean, for God's sakes, it's SlamBall Nation. Now give us your best impromptu promo for SlamBall Nation here.
Hold on. Everybody, I apologize. I think I just took someone else's podcast name. It doesn't matter, because guess what? We are the nation. We are the nation of SlamBall. We came at you hard in Las Vegas, and now we're coming at you hard on the podcast. And you're going to love us, and you're going to hate us. You're going to love our and hate our all at the same time, too. But make sure you tune in every single week if it comes out on a schedule for Coach Kirsch and I to rock your world with SlamBall Nation.
Here's the best part, Coach. If we suck, they can't cancel
That's right.
us.
That's right, because we own this space.
I love it. Coach, I appreciate your time, brother. We'll talk to everybody soon. SlamBall Nation, we love you. SlamBall every single week, or most weeks when our schedules permit, from now until next season.